My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireball's Dispatch, our monthly Q&A, topics, listener response, game announcement episode.
Yeah, welcome. End of the month. I never know what my part to feel. You say what's going to happen in the episode, and I normally say what's going to happen in the episode. So
I do.
You kind of leave me back-footed one episode every month like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you did.
You say, it's cool. Pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a good trick.
It's pretty sick. I'm glad you noticed.
No, I notice every time because it's painful.
You're a professional podcaster. You figure it out.
My professionalism is entirely down to routine.
Yeah, you can. Well, it's time to stretch. We're getting into the real zone now,
I suppose.
So we got topics and questions for you, and we're going to get into it without much further ado. Here, one thing I think that we should announce, though, real quick.
Yes.
Save the date for Duckstream.
Yes, that is. I was actually going to bring that up in our in the green room. Let's do that. Yeah, it's going to be the weekend
of December 5th.
Okay, the weekend of December 5th. First weekend of December. I didn't want to jump the gun on that because I didn't know if you had secured a space for it.
Yes, we're going to do it at Nick's again, and if we can't do it at Nick's, we can do it at my house now.
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, but it's going to be that weekend. So save the date. We'll have more specific announcements as we get closer. But just if you participate and donate, that's when we're doing it.
That's when we're doing
it. As far as I know, nothing really. Still raising money for the same cause. Still 24 hours each over the weekend. This has also become routine, weirdly enough, for like a very big disruptive event.
If you're unaware, Duckstream is our annual 48-hour streaming event, marathon kind of deal, raising money for the Transactive Gender Project.
Yes, out of Lewis and Clark College. And go Transactive, and hopefully people can dig deep. It's always a lot of fun, and we always raise a good amount of money. It's a fun thing to be able to get to do. It's a real privilege, and I hope everyone can tune in.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
All right.
What does Aiden say?
Aiden says we're going to start with some game questions here. Says, hey guys, I have been playing The Last of Us Part 2 recently and have really enjoyed exploring and interacting with all of the realistic spaces captured in its post-apocalyptic Seattle. Museums, an aquarium, arcades, malls, a theater, and countless shops have all been surprisingly fun to explore. Especially fun were the times when off-limits areas were accessible, backstage, within museum exhibits, etc. Have any games inspired a similar fondness for this sort of thing in either of you? I'd love to see this game discussed on the show someday. Thank you both for the great content.
No, thank you, Aiden. We talk about this. This just came up in Crow Country. We love to go into off-limit areas.
It's great. It's one of the best things.
Going back to, even the thing that drew me to Maniac Mansion as a kid. Like, that's not backstage off limits, but home invasions are off limits. At least I'm not allowed to do them.
Home invasions are off limits because this existence is a prison.
Yeah, because of woke. I'm not allowed to do them. So that felt like being somewhere I shouldn't be. It's one of my favorite feelings in games.
Yeah.
Anytime you can do that. I was thinking recently about Human Revolution, the climax of that game, or the penultimate climax when you're at the convention.
Yeah.
And you have to, or maybe this is maybe in Mankind Divided, but you have to go around and go in and out of secure zones, the public facing floor, and then go backstage and try to accomplish your goals at the end. And I really like that. Because you go to a convention center, there's always huge sections of it that are just kind of walled off with guys guarding them. And I don't know what's going on back there.
I want to know. I desperately want to know. Yeah, this is one of the things I love about Hitman.
I was just about to say Hitman, big for this.
Huge for this. Yeah, I think that even also has a convention center for one of its levels too. If I'm thinking correctly, yeah, it's great. It's one of the best things that that games can do. I love when games represent real space, and I said it in the Crow Country episode. But seeing the difference between here's the public facing thing, the constructed reality that we've made, and then like here's the thing you're not supposed to see, the utilitarian kind of version that makes the constructed space possible.
Huge shout out to the haunted house I went to once that had the critical path obscured, and you walk into a room and someone's taking a break looking at their phone and they tell you like you can get back on the path this way, and there's a huge jump scare. Like that was part of the actual thing.
Oh, that's so good.
Very, very good shit with that. Exotic Minivan says, question for Cole. I've been playing the old Rock Band games, and I'm approaching the end of Rock Band 2. Have you ever attempted the endless set list in any of the games? What was that like? If not, have there been any crazy gaming challenges that you've attempted?
I've never done an endless set list. That just never seemed appealing to me. So I just didn't.
That's just like a marathon mode.
Yeah, it's where you play every song in the game from front to back with no pauses. That's a lot of music. That's a lot of sitting down to play, and not how I engage with those games. Really, it's to learn a song, or to set up like a little playlist that would be fun to go through. It always seemed kind of weird to me that was the big achievement. People enjoy it, but I just do not see the appeal.
I'm too much of a music snob to ever try something like that.
Yeah.
There are too many low cards, like songs I just want to play once in Guitar Hero and never touch again because they're bad songs.
Yeah. Like, okay, so I'm going to play everything in Rock Band 2. So you want me to play that fucking L7 song?
Yeah. A bunch. Yeah.
Futz writes, hello, lads. Recently, Dragon Age The Veilguard has gotten into some heat on Twitter for spoiling major story content months before release. That and a gameplay trailer spoiled a major antagonist for the latter half of the game. Does intentionally releasing spoilers like these kill hype? We've seen this a lot with movie trailers spoiling the plot. Are video games next?
Yeah, this would actually be a pretty good topic.
Yeah.
I think in the future, not to completely punt it, but I think that we should probably talk about that because it's interesting. I don't think we've talked about spoilers.
Yeah.
Generally.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't follow any of the stuff with Veilguard. I typically don't mind spoilers that much, but I have noticed a thing, maybe shifting a little bit. The movie series, Pearl, that movie.
Yeah, Maxine and all those, yeah.
Maxine and X. Me and Liv watched X, and then we watched the first one, and we watched Pearl. And Pearl is good, but everything cool that happens in Pearl is in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Almost literally. So it's not necessarily a spoiler thing, but it does give you the reason for watching the movie in some ways. Like, that's reductive. Yeah, I still had fun watching it, but it was a bummer that all the surprises were gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And the degree to which a surprise matters is something that like I've gone back and forth on, from as extreme as like I don't give a shit at all to like, no, actually I would have liked to have known that. It pops up. Like, it's why I go into From Software games. I try to avoid things because I want the gameplay surprises.
Yeah.
So I think spoilers are complicated. I think that would be a fun thing to talk about in detail.
Yeah. Yeah. I marked that as maybe a topic for later.
Good job, Futz.
Good job.
Yeah.
If we didn't already decide on the topic for today, that might have been today's.
Yeah, we just switched it, but we already have a topic and it's fun.
Bad for you. We did work ahead of time.
Yeah, it's rare. Harrison McDoobie says, "I'm looking to run the Curse of Strahd for a few of my friends pretty soon. Most of the players are super new to D&D and TTRPGs. Do you have any tips for running a good game? What has elevated a TTRPG campaign for you guys?"
This is Gary's zone.
Yeah. I generally think that what makes a good game is if everyone's having fun. I know that sounds like a pat answer, but I think it's true. You want everyone to be having a good time. That doesn't mean just being wacky and nothing matters, and joking or anything like that. But you have to, you read the tone, like you try to make sure everyone is engaged with things, and you pitch your game at your group. So if the group wants to kind of be serious and role play, if they want that kind of critical role, drama stuff, you want to try to rise to that. If they don't try to force that. That won't work. The other little bits of just kind of quick hints, without going, details, two things. One, I really love Matt Colville's YouTube channel, Running the Game. I'd recommend watching all of that. That's a really good DM advice channel, I think, for non-critical role, like non-drama kind of stuff. He's a little bit more old school than that. And end on cliffhangers.
Yeah.
End on something really cool happening, like end before the fight. Don't end after the fight. The same way that, like, when I was playing XCOM 2, I always did a map phase before I logged off. So I had like a fight right when I sat down the next time I played. Did huge things there. It does huge things for tabletop too.
Yeah.
Even if it means ending 15 minutes early, just like, we're going to call it there. It's a good spot. We'll see what happens with the haunted werewolf next week.
Yeah. I can only like call back to my experiences playing tabletop stuff in like high school, which was probably the last time that I played it very seriously. Seriously in quotes, but it's like just regular storytelling stuff. Like, try to start in the middle. It was always a bummer when the whole first session was like, all right, here's us meeting each other. Kind of thing, right?
You can meet in a tavern as long as something happens.
Yes.
Like the way to do that, and that's one of those, you have to know the tropes to subvert them.
Yeah.
But like, I've had good openings where you meet in a tavern and then something really horrible happens partway through introductions. And then you have to do that shit on the fly. That's cool and dramatic.
Yeah.
But just kind of like, you're waiting for the blacksmith to give you a task. That part's not great.
Yeah. Let me know if this is out of bounds, but I see DMing as just an extension of being a good host, a gracious host. Like, you exist not to tell a story that is precious to you, but to serve your friends and create and facilitate a good experience.
Well, it's like collaborative too. Like, you're a player too at the table. You have to have fun as a thing. There's degrees of that. Like, you can go full friends at the table and just stop and be like, what would be a cool thing to happen in the story now? And like, discuss it as a council. You don't have to do that. If you're going for something with a little bit more like authorship or verisimilitude, but like finding that balance of, I'm here to have fun. I'm here for you guys to have fun. How can we all have fun together is so group dependent.
Yes.
I think if you keep that goal in mind and work from that, you'll probably have a good time.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it, but just kind of like, if I'm having fun. And you can also ask. This is advice that applies to everything. Like, use this for real life too. Just use your fucking words. No one reads minds. The idea that we're just supposed to intuitively know whether something we did like worked for somebody is stupid. At the end of the thing, be like, how did that work? Like, did you guys have fun with that? And if you present that with confidence and not insecurity, people should be okay telling you the truth, and then adjust. Like, is this the kind of, like, was this fun? Did this drag at points? Things like that, and kind of aim for that. Like, just talk. Yeah. Communication is the key to literally every human interaction.
Yes.
From fucking to sucking. Every single one of them, you just need to use your words.
Yeah. Curse of Strahd's a long one. You're going to have several sessions to, get to a place where you like.
Oh, the other thing, anything that doesn't, if you get to a thing in the game, if you're reading the module and you like, this seems like this would be cooler if this happened, make it happen.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't, you don't necessarily have somewhere it's going, just make a note of it. I remember running the adventure path for Pathfinder. That was the horror flavored one, and just homebrewing the shit out of it. Like, cause they're just, the horror it was doing was just real, like, spooky, scary skeletons being there. And I wanted to make it more surreal and stuff. So like, like there's an autopsy scene in it and like they had a werewolf bite. And I was like, what if this guy's like got nested skulls? Like, if you open up his skull, there's another face with a skull. And then you open up that one and there's an even smaller one.
Matryoshka
like
skulls.
Somehow he's having a recursive skull thing. Yeah. That's a cooler disease than like a wolf bite that gives you, it wasn't even a werewolf. It was like a wasting sickness. And like, give that a cool effect.
Yeah.
Like, use your imagination and make it weird if you're doing something in Ravenloft.
Yeah. Anybody can, read the module, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, make it your own.
Yeah. Limorek writes, I almost never do this kind of thing, but for some reason, on my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, I decided that my Astarion was a weirdo who had an obsession with bones and skulls, and was not going to, and was going to pick up and keep every skull or bone we came across. Joke was on me, as I had no idea how damn many of those things there were going to be present as trash items in the game, but I committed to the bit. No idea why. Have either of you ever done anything like this, even minor, in playing a game where you had a silly idea, role-playing or challenge or joke, etc.? And if you did, and if so, did you commit to the bit or eventually abandon it at some point?
The closest thing I can think of is I did Fallout 1 or 2, I can't remember which one, killing everyone in the world by hitting them in the balls, which you could do in one of those. That's the closest thing that I can think of to that.
Yeah. Weirdly for me, it's also a Fallout, but I think the first time I played Fallout New Vegas, I was just like, all right, only revolvers, no other weapon, no long guns. Like, I just want to roll with as many revolvers as I can, see how far I can go. Yeah.
And but it's interesting. The thing with the bones, collecting items in games is a huge thing. You are not alone in that, Limorek. One of the things, early like Fallout facts I remember reading had like exploits to keep quest items after you turn them in, just because you want to have every item in the game.
Yeah.
Or rocks, apparently. There's one of the facts I read for Fallout 2 list how many rocks are in each map in case you're collecting rocks. Like, people do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So know that you're in good company. Or you're in company. I don't know if it's good.
Honestly, not for me to say. So
it's weird to make a moral judgment on that. You're not alone. Matthew says, you probably have answered this, but does the show have an official stance on fan-made games? I was thinking about how Thief: The Black Parade, despite the funny name, is far and away the best game in the Thief series, despite being a fan-made prequel. Does the show have an official stance on this kind of thing? Thanks. Love the shows. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against it. It's just one of those things where it would be, I think, of limited appeal.
Draw is always the thing.
Yeah.
That runs into this kind of stuff, like draw and accessibility. Like, we want people to we do better numbers. People like the episodes more when they've played the thing. Usually we're not super numbers driven, but we are making something we want an audience for, our livelihoods depend on it. And it's, we don't want to feel like we're talking into the void. So something like that, like I'd never heard of that. And I'm not the biggest Thief fan in the world, but I like Thief. It would just be tricky because people would be like, what the fuck is this?
Yes.
No.
That
doesn't mean no. It just means, I don't know.
I could see like a special episode, just like, fan-made games where you don't like play the entire thing, but just like talk about what's cool about a couple of them.
Almost like our mod episodes of on Bonfireside Chat almost.
Yeah.
Things like that. But for our zoom in approach, it's a little bit tricky.
Yes.
Yeah. So not saying no.
Let's see here. Want to do a couple more game questions and then be done?
Yeah. Let's clear out the old ones.
Yeah, let's clear out the old ones. Mr. Q writes, hey guys, I've seen a lot of board games based on video games lately and got to wondering what game you guys would pick to be the next adapted to cardboard. Double cool points if you know what type of gameplay it would feature.
This is hard to answer because it's all happened.
Yeah.
Everything I want to have this do has do.
Frostpunk is a board game now.
Yeah, like everything's a board game. Slay the Spire is a board game that's apparently like better than the actual game. I kickstarted the Big Divinity Original Sin board game, which is huge and very intimidating. I haven't played it yet. It's very complicated. But I have like a Darkest Dungeon board game. I've got a Resident Evil 2 remake board game with like the Mr. X is very much in play as you stalk around the board and stuff. It's hard for me to think of something that hasn't been adapted that I'd want to have adapted, to this. I don't know. That's really tricky because it's already happened. There's a Stardew game that looks real neat. People like that, which is really interesting because that has so many different modes of play.
Yeah.
Be curious how they. The other thing is that a lot of games that have been adapted have turned out to not be super great. Like the Dark Souls board game is not super great. The Binding of Isaac card game I don't like.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart. I went all in on that Kickstarter at a time when like I had no money. It's just like, oh, I want this. I want these doodads. I'll make some compromises, and it's not a good game.
Like one of the XCOM board games is good, and the other one's kind of crappy, is my understanding. Yeah. I don't know. So I'm just gonna like run to okay. What do I usually say when somebody asks this kind of question? Okay, so usually Silent Hill, Disco Elysium. Let's do Pathologic. I think Pathologic.
Yeah, Pathologic would work fine as a board game.
Yeah,
like I think Disco Elysium or Silent Hill would be a little bit tricky.
Yes,
but I think Pathologic is systemsy enough.
I was just making fun of myself for always going to the same things. Yeah. Pathologic is my actual answer.
No, Pathologic is good.
Yeah.
Final game question. Naveen says, in the past few years, I've tried to tackle entire game franchises that were new to me in one go. I got the idea from Noah Caldwell-Gervais, franchise retrospectives, and it's reinvigorated my love for gaming. So far, I've gone through all the mainline Resident Evils, Metroids, FromSoft Souls games, and now working through Yakuza. If you had time to drill down into a series in sequential order, what franchise or developer would you pick?
Yeah. I have wanted to play the Yakuza games, like and I've made a couple of runs at Yakuza 0. It's really like, it's good. I like the story in that quite a bit. It's just, I end up needing to play other things and I come back and I get lost. So I have to start again. And that's literally been the case for the past like 7 years.
They're too big.
They're really big. So like, if it's a matter of time, I would like to see that story. I like the tone of that world. Cool crime stories. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, because a lot of it'd be like pick and choose. Like I want to go through and fill all of my CRPG holes, but that's not the same thing. Most of those franchises I'd want to go all the way through. I've played some entries in. Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe Ultima. Maybe. Like see the history of CRPGs, like literally from the beginning. And how that advanced. That'd be a huge pain in the ass. A lot of those games are really archaic. But maybe Ultima.
As somebody who really only came into Hitman with the World of Assassination trilogy, that it's a shorter franchise, but like starting from the beginning of that and seeing how it evolved might be neat.
Yeah, we're some real simpatico today, because I was thinking about that earlier. Thinking about we were talking about backstage spaces and wanting to work backwards through Hitman just to see the levels.
Yeah,
like I think those would be awkward to control. I'm not looking forward to that, but like I don't believe that team learned how to make levels overnight. I bet you those old games have some pretty cool levels.
Yeah.
Moving on to life questions. Fenraliania says, as an autistic person, I give you both permission to answer this question without taking a diagnostic test live on the air. More people need to do that. If you want to give us permission for something, please do. Because they continue. One aspect of autism is that I really love is special interest, which is what it sounds like. Finding a particular subject, especially rewarding and fascinating to engage with. So the question would be, if you had a special interest, what do you think it would be, and what would you want it to be?
I don't know that my special interest is for me to determine. I think that somebody else needs to tell me, you over-explain this too much.
Oh, it just happens, and then somebody else calls you out for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to ascribe like a negative trait to people who happen to be experiencing autism.
Outside of autism, like, do people decide what they're interested in?
Yeah.
This is one of those things where I don't know how much of this is just all humans. Or whether this is a specific, like, it's a thing that sometimes I'll get up in my head with reading about identity stuff sometimes online. I'm going to try to be careful saying this, is that sometimes somebody will describe something and they'll be like, oh, we talked about this, like, oh, the gay urge to have a sandwich at 2 a.m. And I'm like, I'm not gay and I like to have a sandwich at 2 a.m. I read this question and be like, I'm not autistic, but I have special interests.
Yeah.
And not that there'd be anything wrong with it. Maybe I don't think I am, but just the, that just feels like I didn't decide what I was interested in either. Like that just feels like a human experience thing. Like things just occurred to me.
Yeah.
It looked cool. And then I tried it and it stuck versus things that didn't. I don't feel like I had tons of control over it.
Yeah. Kind of the same. Also, like, there are things that I am very interested in and, just to try and learn a lot about. That's just that's the way I try to engage with the world. But like, there are people who know so much more too. So like, I could say I'm super interested in the worlds of Silent Hill, right? All those games, played as many of them as I can, love learning little facts about them, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Now's a good time to, to be interested in that, given the, the remake. Man, there are people who know so much more than me too. So
part of it is the nature of our job, where we are doing a survey course over this medium.
Yes.
As opposed to going real deep. Like we're also never going to be like Quaalag about Elden Ring.
Right.
Dark Souls or something like that. And I'm also not saying that people who do that are autistic.
Right,
obviously.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying in terms of that urge to want to go really deep on something, I have that too. I just will get distracted by other stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of times work stuff. And that's just kind of the reality of it. I do think oftentimes I think like if I had unlimited time, I would love to just do a deep dive on this. I think about that all the time.
Yes.
Like making instruments, like there's so many cool things that basically have the same layout as a piano that I could play if I built them. I watched a guy on YouTube build a piano out of popsicle sticks. I was like, fuck, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I would like to do that. Just things like that just run into time and executive function issues.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just a huge way to not explain.
Not have a real good answer.
To not answer. Yeah. I just, when I think about special interest, I think about the enthusiasm of sharing it. And there are a lot of things that I'm enthusiastic about talking about. But like, I don't know, one of the things I spend the most time reading and thinking about is politics stuff. I'm not especially enthusiastic to like talk somebody's ear off about it. That's more of a self-harm thing.
Yeah, I'm glad I was just about to make that joke. I thought you were going to say something. I thought you were going to say like, that's more of a keeping informed thing. And I was literally just about to jump on your ass and say self-harm. And you scooped me. Like, it's more of a masochism.
I know. I have some self-awareness, Gary.
That's a good amount of self-awareness. That's more than some. That's usually self-aware, unlike use. So sorry if that's like a non-answer. I don't know. I don't have a better answer than that.
Yep.
I do wish I had more time for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun to shop for like putative avocations, right?
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, no, this would be a real fun dive to go on.
Oh man, you like go to a hobby shop. Like I go in the background, I see all the miniatures, and I think about that table from Beetlejuice, and like just making a little scale model of my town, and like I'm like, well, that could be me, but that would have to be the only thing I am. At that point, with the way my brain works.
Yes. Michelle writes, everyone knows that the best part of having pets is giving them stupid nicknames. My cats, Catbrush Threepwood and Wayne Van Doren, have all kinds of dumb names. But lately I'm getting a lot of mileage out of Brusho and the Wumbler.
This is WDFD with Brusho and the Wumbler.
What kind of things are you calling Greta, Dottie, Pocket, and Jessica these days?
What do you call your cats?
I usually use pejorative things, like I'll say the dipshit or stinky or stupid. But like in a real cheery voice. But
sure.
No, but I'll just say that, but like in the positive way, because that's what animals. It's like, hey there, dipshit. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah. We call Pocket Bub most of the time.
Pocket is a bub.
He's a bub. He's bubbing around and stuff. And then Jessica, we use pejorative things largely about how she's round. Like I mostly neg my cat for being fat. Like if I'm being honest, and she's not actually even that fat. It's just very fun.
She's oddly proportioned. She's very
She's very small. Other than having kind of a roundness to her that is very cute. We wouldn't change for anything.
Nope.
And it's just very fun to just call her Earthquake and shit like that. Like, here comes the tsunami, and it's just little baby Jessica like stepping on a thing. So cute. JV Ravenwood, if that is your real name, asks, I recently took up bird watching, an old man's hobby if there ever was one. I love it though. Being able to identify part of the natural world, even in my own backyard, has given me a new appreciation for the sheer diversity in mundane birds like crows and finches. With hindsight, I can certainly trace this interest the interests and passions of my younger years that would make middle-aged Ravenwood delight at this dad hobby. But I can only imagine that telling my younger self that he would someday dig learning about pin feathers would be met with a less than polite "get the fuck out of here." What about you two? Any later in life hobbies, special interests, etc., that your past self would have been surprised that you now enjoy?
No.
Not a one. I staying home. Like, I love to be in bed by like 10 or 10:30 when it can happen. My younger self would not have tolerated that.
No.
How much I enjoy sleep. How much I enjoy like just being domestic.
Yeah.
I don't think that my younger self would have. That's not a hobby. That's just being alive. But like my younger self would not have bought it.
Aspect. Yeah. I don't know. My younger self would have expressed disbelief at this being a job, but
yeah, that too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's hard for me to think. I mean, like how young do you want me to go?
Imagine telling your younger self that it would be your job to play video games, and sometimes you would want to do it. That'd be incredible. Wouldn't get the fuck out of here. Would have been the only answer.
Oh man. But yeah, no, just everything kind of tracks. So that's fine. Luke writes, Gary made a throwaway comment that, quote, "If you ever wondered what you'd be during Mesmer's genocide, you're doing it now." And it genuinely stuck with me, referring to the one of the villains in Shadow of the Erd Tree. I want to do more to help with all the various issues in the world, but I'm just barely living my own life. As two guys with seemingly similar politics to myself, how do you balance a desire to do more with continuing to play computer games and talk about them and goof?
The joke answer to this that is false is posting. That's what everyone else is doing.
Yep.
That doesn't help the world at all. You should also watch a lot of genocide. It's important that you watch a lot of footage. It's really good. It does a lot of good for everyone if you're watching it. The real answer is money.
Yep.
I think that material, there's no real difference between people posting nonstop about social issues and world stuff and like hearts and, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Like it's essentially the same thing. Material help is the only thing you can really do that matters.
No.
And do it to the degree you can. Even a little bit helps. And set up the thing that I read. This was in 2016, ironically, when we got 2016 vibes now, that really stuck with me is that making a continuing donation, even if it's small, makes a really huge difference to a lot of organizations because they can count on it.
Yeah.
So like if you're planning on giving $50 to Planned Parenthood or something, give them $5 a month kind of in perpetuity if you can instead. And then it's like, well, this is just steady money.
Yeah.
And then just kind of, the other thing, the piece of advice for this is you can't tackle everything.
Yeah.
Again, 2016 stuff. If you choose to be concerned with every social and humanitarian crisis that's going on in the world right now, that's too much to expect of one person to help with all that. Pick one. Which I know sounds weird and kind of grody to be like, I think women are more important than Palestinians, or I think trans people are more important than like X. Like that is a weird thing to say because hierarchying suffering is gross. But just choose one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, you're not necessarily making a value judgment and just trust that other people will choose other ones.
Yeah. The biggest difference that you personally can make is literally what is proximate to you. The people who are in your lives or who are kind of nearby. There is projection that you can do through money and material means, but you are of no use to anybody if you are completely blasted from exposing yourself and frying your neurons, on social media. So this is not like a, self-care kind of thing, but it's like, think about if you're super worried about some kind of disaster, about things getting real rough, think about how you can best position yourself to be as good as possible for the people that you can personally affect.
Yeah. Yeah. If the specific issue like applies, and there's people around you, for sure. My mind, because of the Mesmer thing I was joking about, Gaza.
Yeah.
The cool bonfires I chat, the cool show where he joke. I mean, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Little gallows humor about the way it was actually joking about how people are posting.
Yes.
About that, where there's people who are very angrily posting, whatever you would do during the Holocaust, you're doing it right now. And like, yeah, kind of, but also what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then also like, I'm not going to ship out and go, get killed. That is an unreasonable expectation. Like this shit sucks, but it is worth knowing the limits of my power. I think.
Yeah, I just okay. I could sacrifice my life by trying to go at somebody who is doing bad stuff about this. I don't know how much good that does versus a longer term, kind of approach that is less self-destructive.
It's a tough thing to think about.
Yes.
It's a morally crunchy question. As a thing, but that is what I was referencing. I wasn't making fun of Gaza. No. That's the important part. Take away from this question.
Yeah,
is that I didn't do anything wrong. I was just joking.
Yeah, the important part is not to be mad at me.
Yes, that is always the important part.
Let's do some media questions here. Let's. David writes, "Hiya, folks. I recently went down a YouTube rabbit hole of kids' TV themes, getting reminded of bangers like Pole Position, Ulysses 31, as well as a proper old school Watch with Mother tunes like the Trumpton theme, Extended is Better, and Bagpuss. Do you have favorite?"
This is the most Americentric I've ever felt on this thing. Bagpuss.
Hey David, you're absolutely making all of this up. I saw Pole Position. I was like, oh, like the racing game.
Yeah, Bagpuss. That's not a name for a thing.
Yeah, that's really not. Do you have any favorite themes, either from when you were wee or more modern ones? Okay, so the wee there gives us a little bit of a clue.
I just Googled Bagpuss. So that this is children's. It's a cool puppet cat.
Okay,
looks like.
Yeah, it looks like a starling.
UK. Yeah, I like Bagpuss. Yeah. Sorry for all the things I said about Bagpuss. I'm trying to erase it. All kinds of these things. I will put on a compilation of this shit.
Yeah.
Conan theme song is great. I really love the Rubik's Cube theme song. We did Rubik the Amazing Cube for Adaptation Decay, and I have been listening to that theme song like a couple times a week since then for like 2 years. Made by Menudo. That song is sick.
Yep.
All kinds of shit. We were just talking about Alf.
The
Alf theme song is really good.
Yeah. Fuck man, the Garfield and Friends theme song,
really good.
And not just the intrusive thought version of it, where at the end the Garfield and Friends
that just keeps going
Garfield and Friends. It just keeps going up and getting louder.
Friends. Garfield and Friends. Garfield and Friends. Like just, which I'd love to make that edit, but
but even just like the just the mambo kind of thing.
Yeah, that song's great.
Yeah. Come on down, come to the place where fun never ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that shit. Compilations are good. This goes back. Like my dad had like a CD that was a compilation of like cartoon theme songs. And just like
I used to have
Can I hear the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this time, please?
Yeah, here's the track. I used to have a CD that was all TV and movie theme songs. That was really cool, and it wasn't cartoon pitched; it was sci-fi pitched.
Oh, so it had like X-Files and stuff.
Had X-Files and stuff, and it was the first time I heard a bunch of British sci-fi shows. So it was the first time I heard the Doctor Who theme. I'm not a Doctor Who guy, but I think that theme song is really good. And then like the forgetting the name of it right now. There's several of those big British sci-fi things. Yeah. Lost it. Yes is the answer.
More modern ones, nothing has a theme song anymore. So
it's not. Adventure Time has a theme song. Like a lot of things have theme songs.
Do.
What We Do in the Shadows has an incredible theme song. Really happy to have that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna fucking contradict me. Okay.
With facts and logic.
Yeah. Okay.
With evidence, with two prime examples.
You're really supposed to support me on this.
I know, but I had to. You were wrong, and I care more about truth. This is guppy. This is very guppy. You're supposed to support me on this but truth didn't happen. Is a classic guppy exchange. Eric says, "Howdy, y'all. I'm currently find myself in a musical rut. I was wondering if you've ever been in the same boat and you have any actionable advice on how to get out of it. My main issue is that a lot of the advice I get is either not actually that great or veers into get good, aka just listen to different stuff territory. Popular advice will be to look at who has influenced the artist who you currently like. At this point, I've already listened to a lot of my faves influences, but I find that the influences are similar enough to the artist in question that I eventually regress to the mean and fall back to the rut of my current taste. I guess my real question is advice on broadening your taste in new genres. People rarely talk about how hard it is to start listening to and actually enjoying a genre that they don't currently consume. Similar to people trying a Souls game or turn-based RPG for the first time, it's really easy to bounce off and not return to the genre.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Like the idea of how to get into a genre of music.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for that because I don't do it. I'm a music snob. I like the music I like. I'm not I like all genres.
Yeah.
Like I don't like reggae. I don't listen to reggae. I don't like it. Doesn't sound good to me. Things like that. So I've never gotten into new genres. Without going into influences, this is a thing where I found tons of value in the algorithm.
Yeah.
If I'm listening on Apple Music and I'm listening to a song and you do the create station, that has created similar stuff that I've liked or like surface similar stuff I've liked with frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like it's a good thing that the algorithm is for. Sometimes it's bullshit, but like, I don't know. I've seen cool stuff. I've gotten exposed to cool stuff through it. Also, like your favorite bands have probably collaborated with other bands too. So it's not like influences. It's just like peers,
Yeah,
and
a lot of they've toured with perhaps. Something to look for.
And a lot of those okay, we're peers and play roughly similar music, but like you do enough of those hops and eventually it starts to morph into different stuff too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be my advice. In terms of getting into a new genre, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I tend not to do that, and you can call me closed-minded if you want to, but I will try genres, but I just haven't found, there's a lot of stuff I haven't found that works for me.
And the usual thing that we always say, which is like consuming, doing something for fun shouldn't feel like work. Maybe.
Yes. So, I think so.
Don't force yourself to have a varied diet if that's not how you want to spend your time.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with that.
Let's do another media question and then a couple of show questions. Yeah. Let's see here. Chapel writes, spooky month themed question. When was the last time, or what is a notable example of, you getting spooked when you weren't expecting it? My answer to this is when I played Lunacid with the show a few months ago. The temple with the whole head mummies at the beginning scared my dick right out of the holster.
Yay!
Yay, Chapel. I love that.
Yeah. Giddy up.
And I still don't really know why. It scared me more than anything else, including horror games and movies have in years.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a good answer for it.
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Like, I got scared walking to band practice last week because of Halloween decorations. It's when I go to band practices until 8 and it's fall, so it's pitch dark and there aren't tons of streetlights between in the 15-minute walk to band practice. So I got pretty spooked by a Halloween decoration, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
that wasn't my finest moment. And I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. That actually happened to me, I think, a couple of times when I was in college. One of the houses in my neighborhood near the University of Cincinnati, in their front door, or like in one of the front windows, they had a cardboard standee of Han Solo. Han Solo, pointing and shooting his blaster, at the camera. And there were a couple times where I was just drunk enough that I caught it out of the corner of my eye and got startled.
Yeah. Standees will always do that. There are a lot of people who have standees in their windows in Portland, and it always spooks me a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just look like somebody standing there.
Yeah, standing there watching. Yeah, something like that. And I don't know, without going into like sleep paralysis hallucinations, it's hard to say.
There was construction a lot when I first moved in here with the house next door that's being remodeled. It's currently done being remodeled, and they have it just all the windows open and lights on inside it. And our kitchen window faces their living room window that is just open, but nobody's in there. And Liv was like, I keep imagining seeing somebody walking around the house and it's spooking me out. And now I keep doing it too. So if like I'm doing dishes, I look over into this empty house across the way that's like really pretty close.
Yeah.
And it feels like you could just see a shadow move through it, and it'd be real good and creepy. So
yeah,
that also scared me recently and didn't expect it. Is this me?
Yes.
Show questions. Eric says, do you think you could/would release a supercut of some of your favorite Abject Suffering, Exquisite Suffering improv intros? Not sure if that wouldn't be enough juice for the squeeze, but I love them and wouldn't mind listening to something like that. Not sure if I'm just a nutty edge case, but would be curious to get your thoughts.
That would require me to remember any of them.
I would have to remember them. It also would be a lot of work. This is one of those things where I'm going to say as a blanket thing, I don't mind if you do that, Eric.
Yeah.
You know, not trying to shirk the duty, but if you wanted to create that kind of supercut and put that on YouTube or something like that, you have my blessing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's fine.
Yeah. It would be a lot of work and it would be a lot of memorizing them, and it's hard to memorize or remember.
Yeah. No, it's something we literally think of on the spot.
So. Yeah. They're literally day of. I don't think we've ever put forethought into any of those.
There was one time you prepared a whole little song for it. That's a couple times actually, I think. Yeah. The Accident Channel writes, hello, Duck Boys. I've been digging into the Duckfeed wiki lately and trying to find the oldest possible content available from the network. I believe I went back as far as I can and have been listening to Dead Ideal Valhalla. I've recently been enjoying this show as there is definitely nothing like it on the network. I can't believe Gary allowed a character as wonderful as Jaime to die on the vine. There are only one of me. Now
good work. Like gonna jump on you for violating the canon.
Now my point is that in episode 6, I think, of Dead Idea Valhalla, Gary talks about an album of his called The Master Wrench. The Duckfeed stance on the Residents, the band The Residents, is well known, and I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention that it bears a shocking resemblance to the Residents' commercial album. Were you aware of this at the time, or what? What do you have to say for yourself, Gary Butterfield?
I was aware of that. The Master Wrench is like a bunch of songs and they're through composed, which is a thing I like to do with songs where they don't repeat. There's not really a chorus. They just it's like an ABCD done. I was, and it's a lot of songs and they're short. So that is like the commercial album. I was thinking more, the Unicorns, which whenever I do a through composed thing, that is the main band that got me into that.
Yeah.
As a thing. But I am familiar with that. That is one of my friend who loves The Residents, who every time they had a new album would try to get me into them, for basically my entire teenage years, showed me that album. And I like it more than some other Residents albums, without actually really liking it. The different, it is a similar concept. I like my songs better.
Of course. It makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wrote them in ways I liked, instead of ways I don't like. Thanks for listening to old content. Hopefully there's nothing too mortifying in that. It's a long time ago now.
It is.
Trevor says, so I know Gwen is your producer, but what does that job look like? What are Gwen's job duties? I remove the green M&Ms from the bowl. Gwen has that little note. That is what Gwen does.
Yeah. If I see one, I shriek like a tea kettle.
I'm not going on stage.
Gwen edits the shows, and edits and posts the shows, helps write like post copy for us, and also like if there's something like the Exquisite Suffering polls, things like that, she puts those together for us as well.
Yes. Big help.
It's a lot of work. We
appreciate her very much.
We do.
Should we go into lightning round? So
let's
trying to keep this one to about an hour 50 if we can.
Yeah, lightning crashes. I will.
Yes, it does.
Go here.
Placenta's a poppin'.
Randall says, if Gary and Cole were a team on a cooking show competition, what dish would you cook to win?
That's a great question.
I would cook whatever the host told us to. That's how cooking competitions work.
That is how. Yeah. No, that is true. If we in a chop scenario, that'd be interesting. Where we can make whatever we wanted. We just had like 3 regular ingredients and then a can of cat food or whatever. That would be tricky. I think you and I both cook, but I think that we probably have I think we have different approaches to cooking. Mm-hmm. It would be interesting if we were doing that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably collaborate on something. Like, I think we could put together a good soup. I don't know. Yeah. Like,
I'm generally good with soups and stews.
Yeah.
As a thing.
Yeah. Like for me, it's a lot of utilitarian cooking that I do. So just
chairs, baking up a
chairs, infrastructure.
Table. Highway systems.
Uh-huh. But just like pre-cooking enough staples that I can mix and match them without losing my mind over the course of a few days, So
Andrew says, question, what is ET short for? And the answer is because he has tiny legs. This is the joke. This is a Laffy Taffy joke or something like that has made their way into this.
I love it. That's so good.
It is a Q&A.
Uh-huh.
So I guess it does technically meet the qualifications of the assignment.
What is ET short for? He's got tiny legs.
Yeah. He does have tiny legs.
It's great.
What a horrible design. Why would anything evolve to not be able to, I know he can kind of sometimes levitate. Uh-huh. But those legs are useless.
Oh yeah, they're vestigial.
You can't do anything with those legs.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
With the pant size of
the fucking show jeans.
Yeah, literally 3812s.
Yeah, this could almost kill me. Those fucking show jeans.
Dumb Cube writes, I just wanted to let you guys know that I worked at Cold Stone Creamery when I was 17 and 18, and my fellow workers and I never sang a single song, and the boss was never there and also didn't care. It was sort of a fun, easy job. What are your favorite ice cream flavors?
That's great. I'm glad you didn't have to sing.
Yeah, I am very happy for that. Coffee. Love coffee ice cream. There's a ice cream chain in Cincinnati called Grater's that makes a very delicious, it's like a mocha chip. It is coffee ice cream with irregular chocolate chunks in there. And sometimes you get an unreasonably big chocolate chunk in it.
Yeah. Coffee is also my favorite, but I don't have it very often because it'll keep me awake.
Yep.
And ice cream is a night activity for me. So I tend to default to miscellaneous with solids.
Yeah.
like waffle cone crunch.
Okay.
Or something called something like that. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be good. It's gonna have chocolate and little bits of waffle cone in there, or anything that's named after a pie. I has little pie chunks in it. I want that.
So it's the nature of Aldi for this to happen. But they, when I was there a couple of weeks ago, they had this in the freezer section. It was called a flight of gelato. Okay. And it was 3 perfectly sized portions. It was 3 ounces of gelato each, right? And it was there was a cappuccino one, there was a limoncello one, and there was pistachio. Each of them was extremely delicious. And when I went back, I wanted more. It was gone because that's how Aldi works.
Yeah. Bummer. Pistachio gelato is great.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the kinds of ice cream, I'm going to go frozen custard at the top.
Yeah, frozen custard.
I don't get that
really
very
good.
much, but frozen custard's really good.
More of a Midwest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a place around here that does it now. We haven't been yet. So. Yeah. KL says, hey guys, I'm from the South and moved out west. Nobody from Atlanta sounds like they're from Atlanta, so everyone assumes I'm from the Midwest until I tell them otherwise. I constantly get weird flack from the locals once they found out. Like one of my coworkers insisting that the word y'all is unpronounceable by humans. As actual Midwesterners who currently or have previously lived elsewhere, do you guys get this same weird business when somebody finds out where you're from?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't really get that, but I think it might be just cohort. Like if I had coworkers and stuff, that I met when I was in office. I used to get some stuff about my accent.
Okay.
You know, like coworkers would tease me about it, but I not now.
Yeah.
You know, I have pretty tight control over the people who hear my voice other than this.
Right.
You
yeah.
know, the people who can talk to me back, I guess.
Yeah. I've never gotten shit for it, but also for pretty much my entire life, I've had a, kind of a standard, Midwestern broadcast kind of affectation to it. There are some words where it comes out like, or I'll say roof instead of roof, things like that. Like there's a little bit of like a Michigan shift in what I have because my grandparents were from there. But never got a comment, never got any shit for it.
Yeah, no one's ever mean about that.
Yeah. Naveen writes, my family is doing a Secret Santa for Christmas this year, and we're all making wish lists for our Santas to pick from. I'm excited for it, but as a 30-something who is doing okay financially, there's very little that I haven't purchased for myself. I need inspiration, guys. So tell me, what would you like to receive that is $200 or less?
This is I relate to this idea of like, if I want something, I can get it.
Yes.
You know, like the best gifts are things you didn't know you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tricky because you're making a list. If you were buying a gift for somebody, I would give my standard advice, which is find something they're interested in, search that on Etsy and get them art, which I think is a home run gift.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a hard thing to ask for.
Yeah.
I would take something that you like and find some kind of like, outlandish, stupid collectible thing for it that you wouldn't mind having on a shelf.
Yeah.
That you would never buy for yourself. They made like a 12-inch Mr. Handy model from Fallout that is fully articulated. Like you put together and then you have a 12-inch Mr. Handy that can move around and be different things. I wouldn't buy that for myself because it's like $200. That seems silly. But if somebody wanted to give it to me, I wouldn't mind. That might be what I would do.
See, all my ideas are boring and practical. Like if you don't have one, get a cordless power drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like even if you're an apartment dweller, just having like a shitty Ryobi with a rechargeable battery just for like screwing and unscrewing.
Screws.
Yeah.
I never drill anything, but I use that thing for
all the
stuff.
time. Like literally, what kind of maniac would manually unscrew something if they had any other option?
Yeah.
It's boring, but treat yourself.
Yeah. Put it on your list. Nina says, how do you each like your eggs? Defend your choice. Hard to defend an egg.
Yeah.
An egg preparation style.
Yeah. Fried over easy to medium, like not super liquidy, runny yolks, but I like to be able to do a little bit of toast dipping.
Yeah. I do the same basically over medium. I always say like kind of gummy yolk.
Yeah.
Not pure liquid, but a little bit liquid.
Yes.
I don't turn my nose up at most egg preparations. Like scrambled eggs are fine to me. They taste good.
Yeah.
People get really, really into luxuriating with eggs. Same thing with poached eggs. You ever talked to like a poached egg person?
Never talked to a poached egg person. That was like a cooking skill that I just like deliberately set out to do because I like a poached egg on toast. So that's basically, I've never talked to a person who made it part of their identity.
Yeah, I like a poached egg just fine too, but it's just weird how people get very strong opinions about eggs. Sometimes. If you ever do a fun egg preparation is the Gordon Ramsay, like super light scramble.
Yeah, like
the
constant stirring. Yeah.
Yes. Constant stirring and removing and putting back on heat. And that makes a totally different kind of egg.
Yeah.
That's really good, like spread on toast.
Yeah. I like a larger curd in my scrambled egg. Yeah.
There's so many eggs, very versatile. That's my defense.
David writes, have you been watching the Tim Kaine YouTube? Talking about the Fallout guy, right?
Yeah, I'm subscribed to Tim Kaine. It is a good YouTube. I don't watch all of them, but I do like them.
Yeah.
So yes is my answer.
My answer is no. For no reason other than I just don't watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah. The time. You did other stuff instead.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move on to topic.
Let's
here.
Yeah. This was I need to do a search. Oh boy, I got off the wrong bottom. There we go. Yes. This is a topic that Mike didn't write in as a topic, but I latched onto it just because we did Fable 2. Mike asks, when you covered Fable 2 recently on WOFF, you said it ranks in the bottom 10 of games that you've done on the show. What are the other 9?
So let's roll around in some shit and do a bottom 10, like bottom list.
Yeah.
Here. Content, baby. This is the kind of stuff that I have a snobby outlook on, but I actually always enjoy both participating in and viewing.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to be snobby about this thing I actually just like, and I just have to face that.
Right. We don't indulge in it an awful lot,
No.
So and it's worth, it's stopping to get a pulse check, right? I don't know. So my process for this, I have a running list of every game we've covered on the show. And going through and just marking, okay, I didn't, this is a game that I just didn't, I didn't like. Marked those. I have, out of all the ones we did, 38 of them.
Okay.
And it's been kind of interesting to see what the distribution was for what year we did those episodes. 2023 was a dog shit year for doing games that we don't like.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I took a different, I kind of went through and, had my initial gut check. And then I was like, am I mad at this? Do I still think this is cranky making? I didn't just go based on enjoying, because I was trying to allow for things like I can't be mad at Lords of Magic.
Right.
Is kind of how I feel. Like that game was not necessarily for me. I found some things charming about it, going through it, but it was like, I can't being mad at that would feel like being mad at Realms of the Haunting to me.
Yeah.
And I like Realms of the Haunting, but you know what I mean? You can't be mad at Realms of the Haunting. So I ended up with 17 on my long list.
Okay.
Here. And then I narrowed it. We talked about 5.
Yes.
Narrowing it down to 5.
Yeah. 5 of these.
But we can do some dishonorable mentions if they're anything interesting.
Yeah. And I ranked mine literally just by taking one, putting it up next to the next. Which one, if you told me I had to play it right now, would I want to play more out of the 2 of them?
Okay.
And then that helped it settle into what it is.
I also couldn't help, this is just a disclaimer, I couldn't help but take into account if I ultimately had more fun thinking about and talking about it, which is why something like BioShock Infinite didn't make my top 5.
Right.
I think that's a really bad game in a lot of ways. I got more than my money's worth of joy out of that, slamming it.
Yeah.
By quite a bit. That was a really fun episode to record.
Yeah.
And fun to think about. It couldn't be on my list because of that. I couldn't be mad at it. I'm like, oh, little BioShock Infinite, you piece of shit. We had a real fun time tearing you apart.
Yeah. So my top 5 is mostly that stuff, because it was okay, I'm just thinking about the playing. Right.
Yeah.
So
well, it's good to disclaim our approaches.
Yes.
It's okay for us to have different approaches as long as we know where we're coming from.
So I've got these ranked, but because there might be overlap, I'm why don't we go from most, the most hated to least hated, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine are pretty loosely ranked. You could convince me to put these in other orders.
Okay.
Here. And I've got an explanation for some of these, because some of these people might be surprised at them.
Okay.
My number 1, the thing that made me the most mad, and is the most mad when I think back on it, is Elite Beat Agents.
Elite Beat Agents is kind of in the middle of my list, but I absolutely had it there.
Yeah, it was a huge disappointment. It was, it's a genre I love, and is a series of games in this genre I love that everyone loves to me, and it does nothing with the genre that I love.
Yeah.
The mechanics are disconnected from the music in a way that is counterintuitive.
Yep.
The music is not good in it. There's only 10 songs or something, 10 or 12 songs. There's barely content in it. And the cute, these 3 guys are going to help you get to the airport on time thing to Aunt's wedding music, does not overcome those concerns.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do anything. I'm too much of a music snob for that, and it doesn't do anything I love in rhythm games.
Yeah, huge same. There was so much value in covering it, though, especially compared to Rhythm Heaven, which was, we talked about in the same episode, just to come to the realization that, like, just doing something alongside a song is not anything I'm interested in. A rhythm game needs to make me feel like I am participating in the music.
I'm performing,
Yeah.
like you're participating in the instrument. It actually has a weird parallel, the way that, I'm sure I said this in the episode, it feels a little bit like Indigo Prophecy, where like I'm playing an unrelated game of Simon while watching a movie.
Yeah.
And that's like the worst thing a game can do, is just not integrate its parts even, or try to even a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
my most hated was Jack 2. That was a really fun episode. We made, I think, very good content out of it. It's hard for me to think of a game that I got less joy out of.
Jack 2 is on my long list for sure.
Yeah, just the act of playing it. Nothing in the story, nothing in the presentation, like basic systems, like the fighting was not fun to do. The racing obviously is bullshit. The platforming feels terrible. Like, man, I just don't like it at all.
Yeah, it's a bad game.
Yeah,
like it's a rotten game. What wasn't the thing that the only reason why I looked back on this and didn't get mad at it and put it on my top 5 was thinking about it being funny how edgelordy it was, and that genuinely being a little bit surprising to me. And almost cute, even though it was annoying, and having a good time in the episode, which I don't necessarily think it was right for me to factor that in. I think it just, my gut did it.
Yeah, well, it gets us more. Well, no, you just sucked me with the obvious ones. So cool. Thanks.
No, I don't necessarily think so. We both had EDA.
Yeah.
My second worst, I'm going to say, is Child of Light.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I hate that game. It's got the mechanics are not absolute dog shit. There's not one word in it that's worth reading, and it has so many words.
Yeah.
And the nursery rhyme conceit of it was just a constant irritation the entire time I played it. Every single time I had to read text in that game, I was a little bit annoyed. And it's a JRPG, it's a console RPG, so it's a lot of text.
Yes.
Also the Metroidvania elements of it, like trying to add that in, like giving your character being able to fly and get into new areas and stuff, did not work. It was a bad Metroidvania at the same time. It was a bad story and stuff. Some of the turn manipulation stuff and the combat system was fine. But that will let me down with having just a 2-member party.
Yeah.
So it wasn't complicated enough for that. Like I could change turns and kind of delay turns, but there weren't enough things happening on the field to make that meaningful. I really hated that game.
Yeah. I think when I was looking over the list, I saw that, and all that came to mind was the rhyming. I didn't like that, but like what saved it was that turn manipulation stuff, which I felt like they did interesting stuff with throughout, even if it was ultimately not enough to make it. Saying that one just kind of almost landed beneath notice for me on review.
Yeah. There are many things I didn't really think about that was on there for me too.
Next one here, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Everybody's horny for that remake. Yeah, it is really, really, really hard to think about that game and not just get really mad about the timed block pushing being the entirety of the interaction. Timed block pushing mixed in with combat. Yeah, combat that only existed as a distraction from what it primarily wanted you to do, which was move blocks from one position to another. Yeah. Like, I think people, when they think back on it, they think about the cutscenes, they think about the presentation. If they played it on Dreamcast, they think about like how good it looked. They think about the world switching gimmick, like all that is stuff that will kind of loom large in their minds. I wonder if there's going to be a reevaluation with that with that remaster, where people are going to have to face what that game actually is,
like what you do in it. The old WOFF axiom of it matters what you do in a game. It's not just a vibe. Yeah, that's on my list as well. That's number 5 because I couldn't be too mad at it. Like it's like, that fucking sucked. I don't want to play it. I don't think it's a good game, but I'm like, had a good time in the episode and was not too angry. So that one's also a crossover. But not until there. My number 3, I'm putting in Jade Empire.
I have Jade Empire on mine as well. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of just surfacing a lot of things I hate about BioWare and their weird meter-based approach to human relationships and morality. In addition to just having a horrible, horrible combat system that is neither fish nor fowl, that makes combat a huge chore in that game. And you do a lot of it.
Really misguided products all around.
Do you remember that you do shoot 'em up levels in between acts? Yeah.
It's so wild. Like, what are you... Focus.
Yeah.
Focus, God damn it.
Yeah.
No.
And also I had some hope for enjoying that as somebody who, that being on straddling on the line between like modern BioWare I don't like and old BioWare that I do like. You know, I thought maybe it would be on the side that I dig.
Yeah.
You know, and it just wasn't.
No. It actually really hits this delineation point, right? Like it is where you can divide their catalog, I think.
Yeah. Either there or KOTOR. And I've never made my way through KOTOR either.
KOTOR at least has good fundamentals to it. You know, like,
at least better. Like it's not, it's less into the action.
Yeah.
So it's not on the straddling.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of the worst Souls like you've ever played.
Number 3 for me is BioShock Infinite, for repetition and for being one of the most like politically and morally repugnant things.
It is very politically and morally repugnant.
Yeah. Hard to overcome that, I think.
Yeah. Rough stuff. It is also, you're still fighting that ghost mom. You don't know it, but you're still working on that.
You're still fighting Ghost Mom in the cemetery.
Yeah, it's 2024, and you're still fighting the Ghost Mom.
Yeah, just thinking about how they went all in on that Skyhook system, and it
doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything, and every single pickup relates to it. Yeah.
I've got a new pair of pants that makes me better at the Skyhook. And there's like a Skyhook in one out of every 3 levels. It's like, okay. Also, what a disappointment from that series. What a huge letdown. Like it's not fashionable to like BioShock 1 now, but I still really like BioShock 1 and BioShock 2. I think like if it wasn't for BioShock Infinite, I'd be like, oh, that's a series I really love.
Yeah.
I like both those games quite a bit. Infinite really fucks it. My number 4 is Fable 2.
Okay.
Took a little bit to get there. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just recency bias, but the game made me really mad. It doesn't do anything it says it's going to do. It doesn't deliver on its promises. It's not that, I had already controlled the fatness of my avatar in San Andreas. It didn't seem that exciting to me to do that. And it's just, there's something about promising the world and then giving you like a linear action RPG with repetitive dungeons. And there's like 6 total enemies in the game that just sucks.
Yeah.
Like some of the little time tricks are kind of neat. But then I found out that they were repeated from Fable 1.
Yep.
That like you go to a prison and they do a time jump in the first one. And I was like, well, yeah, that is like weird stolen valor from yourself. Like you don't even have the neat idea that you've done. So, and I also I didn't like it in the hands. I hated how that game feels, like the weird floaty molassesy way you feel like you're in space. Like
of every single action. Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels gross. Like I did not like how it felt in the controller.
Yeah.
At all.
And just thoroughly unfunny, despite how much I tried and wanted you to think it was. Yeah.
Speaking of, no words worth reading. It's like Child of Light in that respect.
Yeah.
Like just there's a lot of words and it's just like, man, this is not good. This isn't good text to me.
Yeah. Number 4 for me is Sacrifice. Boy, that was an early heartbreak for us, I think. It was before we were especially used to, it was still within the first year of the show. It was before we were especially used to just straight up not liking something on the game. It's funny to look back at that and sort of Mana being put back to back on the schedule as like, that was like the grim midnight summer for us.
We've had a couple of those great like winters of our discontent that have popped up that are very funny to me.
Kind of runs, but also it's just funny that like those 2 games in a row was like, oh, everything sucks now.
I was thinking about Sacrifice. I'm not saying this just to be a contrarian or anything like that. I kind of want to try it again.
Okay.
That is so early in the show.
Yeah.
And the at the time I was trying to bring the patience to play through that. I was like working full time and going through a divorce.
Okay. Yeah.
So like maybe the some of the ideas there would hook better.
Yeah.
Now, like that's what saved it from the list. In terms of the actual experience of playing it, I don't think that works. I still feel like the third person RTS is a really misguided idea that they should stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. And I just remember huge empty fields of like early computer graphics with just like gangs of things that would snipe you.
Yep.
As
and
you
just dying
around.
For no reason. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my main memory of that.
Yeah. And kind of a similar problem with Fable 2, where it wants to be this wacky, fun fairy tale about the gods and stuff. And it's just like, this isn't fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not. My number 5 was Soul Reaver. So I'm going to sub in an dishonorable mention for here. I want to throw in something to represent indie games that don't have enough mechanic to them.
Okay.
So this is a 4-way tie between Dendara, Dredge, Carrion, and the Shrouded Isle. As all 4 of them of being Sexy Brutale.
Yeah.
A 5-way tie of the indie game that doesn't have enough mechanic.
Yeah.
To it, that has like maybe a neat aesthetic, but that's it, and is consequently like a pretty big bummer.
Can I give you a couple more for that pile?
Oh yeah,
for that grand category, Norco.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would never say Norco was one of the 5 worst games we've done for the show.
But it's up a stripe, right?
Yeah, it's on that spectrum. It's just better. I would say like it has something going for it. As opposed to like Carrion, which is kind of a non-entity.
Yeah. All right, definitely Shrouded Isle as well.
Shrouded Isle, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So I just wanted to give that because like
that's
along with Sexy Brutale, it's just like, a subgenre that we have found, which is detective game that is in no way a detective game. See also Paradise Killer.
Paradise Killer is on my long list.
Yeah.
Of things. Didn't quite make it again because I think that one of the things I was reevaluating that is I was thinking for me that was maybe a problem of misset intention or expectations.
Yeah.
Like if I just gone into that without knowing anything about it, I wouldn't have been as frustrated without having people telling me like this is an excellent detective game. I was like, well, I want to do detective gameplay. I don't just want to read a story.
Yeah. Let's see here. My number 5, Dreamfall: The Longest Journey.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. No, it's not specifically.
I know. That's a good pick.
It like, so The Longest Journey 1 has this huge reputation as being a tentpole adventure game that made this huge mark, but I also think that the puzzles in it are underbaked and the split world between it. There are some things to recommend it, but other parts that are, most of it is just not really using the idea very well in my mind. Dreamfall specifically being a continuation of that, and making it into a third person open world-ish exploration kind of deal with combat, when one half of the character shit you were doing was with a character who was not very interesting to me at all.
No.
Yeah, it was just like, I didn't want more of this actually, and they gave you so much more of it. I just remember it being, a particular kind of slog to get through.
Really misguided.
Yeah.
It's funny when we look at reputations for stuff like that. Part of the reason why that has such a good reputation is because of where it was like a return to form for adventure games.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the kind of context that, the kind of like metadata that melts away. When through our approach of the show, which is part of the remit and a strength of it, but it does mean that we can't always rely on reputations.
No.
Same thing, that was also at play with Sacrifice. That game was a legendary game. When that got on GOG, that was like one of the most requested games for them to get. And the reason why I feel like it has that reputation in part is because of how innovative it was in the context it came out. But going back to it, it was too awkward to get much out of.
Yeah.
Any dishonorable mentions you want to shout out real quick while we have lists in front of us?
What other people do I want to make really mad? Simpsons Hit and Run for how hateful it gets.
That is very hateful.
Brave Fencer Musashi. I really don't like that game. I don't think the combat's fun, and I don't find it charming at all.
Made me very mad. Neither of those would be on mine. I kind of like Simpsons Hit and Runs kind of still, even though it gets bad. I've got a bunch of stuff on probably the thing that is closer to worst in experience that didn't make my list or either of our list is maybe Marathon 2.
Okay.
As like just a really shitty boomer shooter where nothing looks like anything.
Yeah.
Like when I try to recall Marathon 2 as an aesthetic,
real missing. Yeah.
There's no space. It's just like it's like a random glitchy texture is what the game looks like in my memory. And then I had a bunch of stuff on my list that were things that are definitely not the worst game, but just did one thing that made me really mad.
Yeah.
And it's like Zone of the Enders. And I'm like, this is such a nothing story and such nothing mechanics, but like it's competent. Like you move around and shoot stuff. It'd be fine as like a Nintendo game.
It's fun. It's flashy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's flashy. Or I have 999 on here as the first time I noticed the dialogue problem.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I can't be on my top list because I like the escape room parts. I hate the that is to say, and in other words, have you heard about? Yeah. Like that shit sucks. But the escape room parts were fun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so like we slagged on a lot of games that people really enjoy, right? And we had to, just by virtue of the format here, be kind of glib about this.
Yes.
You can go back and listen to the episodes.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Like if it sounds like those guys just don't like Jade Empire for no reason. There's like 3 hours of reasons.
Yeah.
And then also some things that we liked in it. But generally, if I have to choose a bottom, one of the things about going through this and narrowing it down, it really put the lie to the Gary fucking hates everything. Just doing my gut check, I only found 17 things that I really I felt actual feelings for out of the almost 500 games we've done.
Well, this is wild because I have 39 of them.
Yeah, which is even also not, that's less than 10%. That's still a wild thing for people to be like, you guys are overwhelmingly negative. I think we're like overwhelmingly neutral. Like a lot of times it's just kind of like, this has some good parts and bad parts, but it's, here's where it's at.
I think sometimes it depends.
And then I was trying to find a top 5, which we can save that for another,
it's impossible.
Easy.
It's really hard.
It's really hard though. Like we could put ourselves up to the challenge, but trying to find a top 5 or a top 10 is really difficult because we've covered and loved so much shit.
I was just thinking about Legend of Grimrock 2 the other day. What a fucking treasure is that game?
Yeah. That is constantly the Green Goblin mask whispering in my ear when it shows up on my Steam Deck is great on deck. It's just like, come on, Harry. Come on, Norman. Play Grimrock 2 again in bed. Get the spider.
Yeah. I was gonna bring that up too. So you mentioned like, it's less than 10%, including games from this year. Like that list of games we have played is up at like around like 460 or something like that, to cover. And I don't know, man, like feeling this way about less than 10% of them, it did make me think about that as well. And not just because that criticism gets under my skin a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is certainly that's a little bit irritating when people do that, but it is also, I think, a product of the medium and fan culture being kind of set up to cheerlead.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's a way, I think, when somebody really likes something, if somebody thinks it's mid,
feels like an attack.
Feels like an attack on them or like, oh, people don't like this, so we're not going to get more of it.
Yeah.
And there is an abstract relationship between those two things, but I think they might be greatly overstating our influence.
I mean, and especially so far after the fact too.
Yeah, 100%. Like we don't cover new stuff.
Right.
We're not the Metacritic podcast.
Yeah.
So
a little bit more insight on this for you too. So the year with the most games that I marked as didn't like is 2019. There are 7 of them.
We covered in 2019, not that came out in 2019.
Yes, that we covered. Okay. So Owlboy, BioShock Infinite, Hat in Time, Psychonauts, Alan Wake, Simpsons Hit and Run, Jade Empire. The most of them. Yeah. And the year that we didn't have anything that I marked as 2014. So,
interesting.
Apparently, that was a really good year. Also, a really good year, Gary. This year, hard.
This year's been great.
We didn't have a lot of low cards this year.
Yeah, 2014 is incredible.
Yeah,
if you look at 2014 for the show, like starting with Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and ending with Morrowind. Like that year had Ghost Babel and Little Nemo and God Hand, Gabriel Knight 2, Crackdown. Like
Resident
this is
remake.
All great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really, really good stuff in that year.
Good bangers.
Yeah. And this year has been really good.
Yes.
That was part of what made me irritated about the Gary doesn't like stuff. Yeah. Because it came out this year. And I'm like, no, this year has actually been like, this started with Case of the Golden Idol, and it's ending with Cyberpunk 2070 announcement transition there, which I'm really looking forward to. I haven't played that yet, but it's this is a great year. Teardown, Lunacid, great stuff.
Really good stuff.
Link Between Worlds,
XCOM 2,
XCOM 2, really good stuff. Yeah. All the things this month have been fun. Really, really good year.
Yeah. So that's our topic. Hopefully that was not too bad.
Yeah, hopefully it was interesting to you. Maybe we'll try a top 5 at some point. Who knows?
Maybe. It'll be harder.
I already announced the thing.
Oh, we've got to we've got to read the game responses.
We do. I know, but I slipped that in there.
Yeah, I know.
I just talk about it real quick. And then move on to then move on to game responses.
People are gonna jump to the end and expect it. So
who gives a shit? That's their fault for fucking up.
Okay.
They messed up.
So our winter WRPG this year is Cyberpunk 2070, along with the DLC.
Yes, that's the only thing I wanted to get out.
Yes,
we can re-say it at the end. For people who jump ahead, but I just wanted to make sure everyone knew we were doing the DLC as well.
We are doing Phantom Liberty. That's like mixed in with it. So
yep. So it's not going to be a premium episode. We'll figure something out. We'll either do a Patreon only episode of something short, like we did with the year when we did Adventures of Lolo, or we will figure something else out. To do, or we'll just have it be a Christmas gift that everybody gets the premium episode for December. But we're doing the entirety of that over the month of December.
Yes. Look forward to
it. Let's move on to game responses.
Let's. Starting with Stasis Bone Totem, we have William who says, I didn't actually play Stasis Bone Totem. Instead, I watched a Let's Play on YouTube from the series Mostly Walking, and I feel like that may have been the ideal way to experience it. I got to see all the weird stuff and hear the delightful voice acting, my Charlie. But I didn't have to sit impatiently trying to get to the next story beat. The hosts were able to do that for me. That being said, I do still appreciate that it was a game and not a movie. All of the quiet, slow hemming and hawing really endeared me to these characters, and the relationship between Farhan and Moses was genuinely moving. I'll be interested to experience more stories in this world, even if I don't play them.
Yeah, this is something can straddle the line between like, isn't an ideal game experience, but not necessarily would be better as a movie.
Yeah.
And usually when that happens, I just wish that the game experience itself was better.
Yes.
Or like different, and that's how I feel about Stasis Bone Totem, is I wish it had a little bit more focused, a little shorter, fewer puzzles, not by tons, like 20% fewer puzzles.
Yeah.
But not necessarily would be better as a movie because it wouldn't work as such. Like it has to have that remove, and jumping between characters like that would get, it wouldn't make any sense in a movie, just have Mose gone.
Yeah.
For, the entire time he's sitting in that tank or whatever.
Yeah. Being mailed to the junk facility. Yeah.
Vivian says, hey, Gary, you can totally pair Bluetooth headphones with your Switch. It's how I play Tetris Effect on an airplane. Enjoy your bed Switch gaming. P.S. This game sounds neat. That is good information. Thank you. I did not realize you could do that.
Yep.
So I haven't been, typically when my wife is sleeping and I'm playing games on my Switch, I haven't been listening to them. I'm going to rectify that.
Yeah. Just get throw away a pair of Bluetooth speakers for it.
Yeah. Chalk it up to me being a Luddite.
Yes.
So, and not understanding or engaging with tech very well. But it is good to know.
Moving on to The Last Door, this is the one we got the most responses for. So Malachi writes, the first chapter of The Last Door released about the time I began migrating from console to PC. I scrounged together the money for a more knowledgeable friend to purchase the parts for me. I couldn't wait for the parts to come in, though, so I began looking for games my parents' ancient laptop could handle. Two I found were Darkest Dungeon and The Last Door. I was enamored by both, and they showed me what is still one of my favorite traits of PC gaming. Through things like itch.io, Kickstarter, and Steam Early Access, the bar to pass to get your game out there was never lower. I am not versed enough in video game history to confidently say when the indie game boom began, but for me, it will always be marked by memories of my high school self exploring the Lovecraftian story of this game sitting on a kitchen chair 3 feet in front of my TV, because when I built my PC, it didn't occur to me to buy a monitor, and I was out of money. Classic mistake.
Yeah, there's something in around when this came out. There was something in the water with PC gaming that was really special.
Yes,
like part of it was that's when I was doing Check It Out Comrade, so I was very plugged into just like looking for indie stuff. But that was a banger era.
It's also when Kickstarter stuff just first started shipping. So like just so much money loosened up and people got a chance to make the thing that they wanted. Both of these are Kickstarter successes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. In addition, like that was around when I remember getting Wasteland 2 finally shipped to me.
Yep.
And like playing that and like that being kind of the beginning of the CRPG renaissance that went hand in hand with that. That is you were not imagining it.
Yeah.
That was a cool and special time.
Yes.
IMO. Robinson says, I checked out the first season of The Last Door back in 2015, 2016 off a recommendation from Gary's indie game podcast, Check It Out Comrade. Had a good time with the title. I was approaching a revelation that I didn't like point-and-click adventures, but I enjoyed The Last Door's spooky vibe and pixely visuals. At a time when indie games were getting known for experimenting with visual styles, The Last Door's minimalist presentation, abstracted objects, even the humanity of its characters, is perfect for a Lovecraftian narrative. In the last couple of years, I found a new love for point and clicks, so I played The Last Door once again, rediscovering a pretty solid horror adventure game. The first time I played, I found the narrative pretty satisfying and didn't pursue the second season back then. Maybe I was worried that I would get too many answers and the mystique of the story would have been ruined. It's funny to think about now because on my replay of the first season, I didn't feel it was enough and was drawn to the second, which ended up being great.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't over give you answers in the second season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just expands, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it keeps that mystery.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing a second season there. I've already started working on the schedule. We got some stuff on 2025 and there are several things where like, oh, we need a bite-sized narrative snack.
Yes.
Here. Like this is where a 5-hour narrative game should go.
Yeah.
On the schedule.
Mm-hmm. John writes, playing along with all of the October games has been an interesting experience for me. In the past, I have struggled to find the motivation to stick with point-and-click adventures, even if I enjoy the story or concepts in them. But I decided to challenge myself and push through, and I have come to a conclusion. Point-and-click adventures are not for me. While I did enjoy the Lovecraftian nature of the stories in both Stasis and The Last Door, the leaps in logic that I was being asked to make often left me too aggravated to enjoy my time with them. The most egregious example to me was the light bulb and deer puzzle in The Last Door, as I felt there was no clear signaling that I should return to the very beginning of the chapter, something that is not really asked of the player at any other point. Having community guides easily accessible on the Steam Deck lessened my frustration because I didn't have to fully put down the game to open up my phone to find out that I just needed to click on something again to pick it up, while also avoiding spoilers. So while I won't be playing along with the point-and-click adventures in the future, I will definitely be using WOFF as a service so that I can get the story. We're happy to be of service.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's interesting, this kind of idea, like point-and-click adventures for me, this came up with this, and then we did Toonstruck. We have kind of a point-and-click adventure heavy
quarter
kind of era right now, quarter right here, is that it's impossible for me to be too mad at a pure point-and-click adventure because I don't care about looking up a solution to a thing. Like if I were just trying, if I bothered me to cheat then I would get irritated by these games. But even Toonstruck, which has worse logic in its puzzles than either of these games, I think, didn't bug me because as soon as I got irritated, I would just be like, okay, just show me the next thing.
Yeah.
And you could say I'm not really playing the game, but I don't. I think these puzzles, when you get to a certain level of quality of this kind of thing, me going home and kind of sleeping on it wasn't going to. There was no amount of me like waiting that would have made me expect the arbitrary causality of a dead deer appearing in the last door and dipping a light bulb in its guts.
Yeah.
That was something that was never going to occur to me, basically no matter what.
Yeah.
So the cost of just getting past that hurdle is so low that I can really I can enjoy point and click adventures purely for like story and aesthetics and stuff.
Yeah.
As a way, which I imagine is probably similar to listen to the podcast on it.
Yeah.
Like watching a Let's Play.
I think that like the consensus it has just settled around having hints, I mean, at least ever since the Monkey Island remakes, where they just had a hint system built into it. That is just kind of standard now, because ultimately what is lost by getting over a hurdle? I mean, maybe something,
if you can,
but
if the hurdle is something you can do anyway,
right?
And it's just time. It's like the walking can't be a free action, thing. Yeah. Like if you're just gonna, I can look this up. That is just the reality of this.
Yeah.
Don't pretend like it's not true.
Yeah. What I was going to say was if there is anything lost in looking something up rather than beating your head against it, it is outweighed by what you gain, which is seeing the rest of the game and maybe getting to another puzzle that is more on your wavelength and you can really enjoy solving.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where I come down on it. Like different, honorable people differ, but I agree with that. And finally, for this game, Dylan says, in early 2023, my partner and I were shaking up our lives in exciting but stressful ways. She was interviewing for jobs on the other side of the United States. I was preparing for a long mountaineering trip that summer, and we were doing our best not to overwhelm our cat as we slowly accumulated boxes. I wasn't in the headspace for my usual CRPGs and Souls-likes, so I got into a genre I hadn't played since elementary school in the late 90s, adventure games. Inspired by your Strangeland episode, I played that game, Devotion, Primordia, The Cat Lady, and of course, The Last Door 1 and 2. Although these games didn't stray from intense subjects, the relatively low stakes to the fail states in modern adventure games made them perfect short stories where my reflexes weren't tested after long days of packing. The Last Door in particular was perfect for this, and while episodic games like this are more or less dead, that was exactly what my brain needed during an incredible but stressful year. I would love for more games to take up this discrete episodic structure, 2010's Kickstarter notwithstanding. My packing brain needed those micro stories that could be played in a single evening and get me excited for whatever the next night's chapter would bring. You didn't mention this in the episode, but I loved how occult secrets were placed in the game, where there are a bunch of small one-off events that can occur if you satisfy peculiar conditions. It would be maddening to be a completionist for them, but they're esoteric enough that they might happen once or twice in a playthrough in ways you can't figure out or repeat. I'm all for ways of making the experience slightly weirder without knowing why. I don't know that I knew about that.
No.
I'm sure some of those things happened to me, but that is a mechanic I did not know about The Last Door. Apologies to Dylan for you doing my job for me. In this, it just didn't surface in my play. And it's not a really super well documented game.
Yeah.
When I was looking up stuff about it, I didn't see a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I had to look that up. I'm curious.
I was thorough. I clicked on stuff.
I thought so. Like I thought I was too, but yeah. But here we are.
Nevertheless. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to look that up. That's neat.
Yeah. There was a story about horror games in the arcades that was put in the wrong place that I will read before we get to Crow Country. Casey writes, well, I suppose this is the best place to say it, but I absolutely shit my actual pants playing House of the Dead in an arcade when I was 10.
This is the best place to say it. You're safe here.
I wasn't allowed to play teen or mature related games. Unfortunate Tomba / Pandemonium childhood. And my parents were in the discount furniture store next door, so they couldn't tell me no. Didn't even make it through my roll of quarters. Anyway, have a fantastic day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit yourself at the arcade. welcome to the Soul Dojo.
Yeah.
Shit yourself at the arcade.
You wouldn't be the first and you won't be the last. So
no. And in terms of bodily functions you can do at the arcade, that's probably like the third, least frequent between like pissing yourself at the arcade and getting pregnant at the arcade.
Jurassic Park.
Damn those sex curtains.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the kind of shit that you have, like it is something where if you feel it happening, you could probably get to a spot and get it contained before anybody knows. Whereas with piss, with piss, the die is cast.
The die has been cast. You could probably find a corner though. Arcades are full of like little nooks that seem like they're made for marking. Like, there should have been a subplot in Joysticks of King Vid, like marking the arcade. Because the arcade in that movie, there would be so many pissing holes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In my favorite arcade, Next Level Games, when I go to that, I love to go to the bathroom because the bathrooms are really outlandishly decorated and neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's a great place to take a shit. Like you were entertained the entire time.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
You don't have to get out your phone. It's great. I love to be entertained during a shit.
Well,
it's regular shitting has become boring to me. Like I've been doing it too long. Okay. I got my Gladwell hours.
You're gonna get Hellraisered with this.
Gonna get smell razored with it. Claire, moving on to Crow Country. Responses. Claire says, credit to Crow Country for pulling off several fast ones on me. I was drawn to this game for its Resident Evil by way of Final Fantasy VII look, something which tricks you into waiting an hour before showing you what an adult looks like. Then you get to the story and you think it's going to be about a Resident Evil style mutants, and then you go deeper and you think it's pulling a Bloodborne where there's an elder god all along. Finally, you reach the bottom and it's actually a third, even more terrifying thing. Crow Country is getting in my top 5 games of the year for being able to string me along for its whole playtime, as well as teach me that even if most of the characters live, the ending can still be bleak.
All true.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Oh, great game.
I love that game so much.
Yeah,
that's Crow Country's good. We should do an episode about it again.
We should do it. We should do Devotion again.
Oh man, let's just re-rack it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good game.
And that's the responses. Thank you, everybody, for writing in. Another horror game month under our belts.
Yeah, fun times. If you have anything to say about next month's games, which are Toonstruck, Balatro, or Diablo 2, please write in at Duckfeed.tv/contact. The deadline is the 15th. And if you have anything to say about Cyberpunk, that deadline is the 15th of December.
If you skip to the end to learn this, shame on you. But we did announce it in the middle of the episode. Winter WRPG, Cyberpunk 2070, along with the the expansion content.
Yes, as my understanding, integrated into the game.
Yes.
Yeah. So look forward to that. Save the date, first weekend in December, the weekend of the 5th, for Duckstream. This year. More information to come. If you are a marginalized creator and you have a project you'd like us to shout out, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include your pronouns, pronunciation, relevant links, and description. We'd be happy to do so.
Yeah. The Diablo 2 episode is going to be premium. You can get that, the full version of it, by going to patreon.com/duckfeed.tv. You get that and all of the previous premium episodes we have done for this show.
Yeah.
And whole bonus shows.
Yeah. If you're hearing this, we appreciate you. Have a good November. Have a good safe Halloween.
Yes.
We'll see you in a week. Thanks, Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen.
Thanks, Gwen. Got a little confused there for a second. Anything else?
No.
Usually just say see you next week in these ones. We don't have a whole thing.
Yeah. Happy Halloween. This is coming out on Halloween. So.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy.